We're back on with the All Beef No Filler podcast presented by Prep Baseball Nebraska. Your host, Pascal Paul, Director of Scouting for Prep Baseball Nebraska, joined by Parker Hageman, our Upper Midwest Director of Ops and Media. We're here talking a little 2028 class, first rankings of this class that just came out a little while ago. Actually, not too much to go on when you go for these rankings. A couple events, some Rising Stars events. We get the future games, so we get the top talent down in Atlanta, competing against the other top talent in the country. And then one event that I like every year is the freshman free event. We always get a lot of kids at that. But outside of that, there's not a lot of in-game reps that we get to see these kids on early in their career.
I was going to say, in the Nebraska Omaha area, do you get many freshmen playing varsity? Obviously, when you get the upper classes, your larger schools, like it's tough to crack any kind of a roster then. But did any of them get out there?
Yeah, at the larger schools, it's difficult to crack, especially in the Metro Lincoln area. Now you had Marcus Chandler this last year at Omaha West Side, who put on a phenomenal freshman year. And then in Class B, you'll see it a little bit more with guys like Bubba Day, Easton Elam. The guys at the top are typically have a chance or are competing for innings PT at the varsity level, but not a lot. No, not a lot seen in the Omaha area.
So then, like you're saying, the bulk of it, what you've seen at least in this class, a little bit of talking to some coaches, a little bit of obviously the Rising Stars events, they were at that, and then you got to see half a Junior Future Games roster with Team Nebraska Iowa down in Atlanta, right? So that's the bulk of where you've seen everybody.
Yeah, early on in these projections, or in these rankings, it's a lot of projection. Size, ability, do they move athletically? Like you said, we very rarely see a lot of in-game play. It's just not high on the priority list to see 8th graders and 9th graders playing JV varsity or JV and summer games. We're just too involved in the high school junior, senior, sophomore classes that are in the midst of getting recruited at the moment. But outside of that, let's dig into the 2028 class. Let's start at the top. Cade Anderson, I think right now is the no doubt number one. Physical kid. I think you could ask him. I don't think he'd be happy with his future games performance or junior future games performance down in Atlanta. I did have a wet ball, and I thought his second outing was way better than his first.
Yeah, he got hosed on that. Atlanta's like 15, 20 minutes of rain every night or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But not just the wet ball, but like watching these guys, they're wearing turf shoes. Some of them are just wearing, regular shoes, but like they're trying to get on that mount, and it was just like front foot slip, right? It's not easy. And I don't like making excuses for guys, but like it's not easy. And clearly you're saying, second game is much better.
Yeah, and it might have been our first game or our second game, and first time out in that setting, I don't think you can hold that. But I think Bubba Day, you could go back and he struggled a little bit in his junior futures debut as well. It's a tough setting just with all the coaches and all the teams and all the talent there, and you don't have a lot of room for error. But I thought Cade definitely came back and showed who he was in that second outing. And he's done it, I think, pretty much all year as a guy, especially on the mound, who's been up mid 80s and really physical kid with a lot of projection. There's not a lot not to like about Cade Anderson.
And he, in that the tournament side of the run, I think he had some knocks and stuff where he actually has some adjustability in his bat, like that kind of thing, where he was punching some 2-strike hits the other way. Like he's not just a big physical swing hard kid, it seems. I don't know.
No, you could say that for a lot of our kids down there. Early on, I thought we were a little bit overwhelmed with the situation and everything that the junior future game kind of entails. But as we went on, we were rocketing balls all over the field at the end. Too bad for lightning and some weather. Otherwise, we were ready to make a run.
That's the only thing that saved him. It's the only thing that saved everybody else.
Outside of Cade, I thought Braxton Blank Jimenez, he actually came down there and did well right out of the gate. Very gangly, long, skinny right-handed pitcher. Some whip in the arm. I think there's a lot more projection there as he matures and fills out that frame. But yeah, he came down there and didn't miss a beat. I thought threw that fastball in the zone. Had some giddy up on it out of the hand.
It's it's hard, like for his frame, like obviously you're saying like, gangly and all that stuff. And you just say, hey, this guy's going to put on some muscle in the next couple of years. Or right. Or when it starts getting a little bit more pop in that uniform, right? Like he's going to be throwing harder. It's difficult to, like, I go back and I looked at Minnesota's not long ago because like that first year of junior future game team is now they're in their senior year or
Okay.
just had graduated. And it's like, you're trying to pick these eighth graders and you're trying to bet where they're going to be at, but like, and the line is physicality always plays, but like when you got a frame like Braxton's, it's like, yeah, you could see where that's going to be in a couple of years, whereas like some of the other guys you might not quite necessarily know how they're going to grow into it.
It's also the double-edged sword of picking that team, because not always the best players, I think, at the eighth grade level project to be the best, when they're a senior.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, Braxton's obviously one that he projects and he's really good. So he was an easy choice. But yeah, you're right. We've only had 2 years of it, so it'll be interesting to see in a couple years on the Nebraska side. But that is an interesting case study on these kids from junior futures and where are they at their senior year? How do they develop? Where did you think they were going to go? Because I think we can both sit here and think Braxton's going to be a really, really good baseball player with a lot of high end baseball in his future. But you just don't know.
Yep. No, it's the hardest thing to project, I think, is what we don't see. And we've talked about this either on the podcast or off is the work ethic and what they do outside the lines, right? I mean, obviously we could see the athleticism, we could see some of the work in events and games, but we just don't know what's going to happen between now and junior or senior year, like how much work they put in. So
no, we'll get bits and pieces of this class on certain guys over the years from coaches here and there, or you get to be in the dugout with them on the state games, so you have a little bit of a feel there, or the future games. There are some events where you kind of get a different feel. But yeah, that's more the coaches in high school.
Good boy.
Hey, no. More the high school coaches side, and they get to see those kids in the weight room. They get to see them and have a feel for them in the classroom and in the dugout. Where for us, it's just more of a what do we think you can do on the baseball field.
Yep.
Going to a guy that might not project as well as everybody else, as you're looking at the raw numbers or the raw body type, but Easton Lund is a heck of a baseball player. Utility, I think he can play both in the infield and in the outfield, and also is a right-handed pitcher that fills up the zone. Still has to grow into his body. He doesn't have a lot of body to grow into right now, but hopefully we see that grow as well. But as far as movements and actions and playing the game, he's right up there at the top of this class.
He seemed to have that scrap factor, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of a hustler, and he could run the bases. He did. I want to say he threw against one of the tougher teams. He had a tougher draw there, but yeah, I mean, he looked like he could do a lot on the mound as well. It's an interesting one. I like Easton.
Kind of the opposite of Braxton, where he can really, really play. Right now, I think his on the field baseball IQ is probably at the top or close to the top of this class, but then you look at him and he's just a little bit smaller. He's a little bit less projectable in his frame and his body, but he has all the athletic actions that you want and that you like to see. So he's a tough eval for a lot of people, myself included.
I think Jose Altuve was a tough eval too for people too. So that's
a lot of people missed on him. Yeah. I think I would have too.
The Dustin Pedroias and the Altuves, right?
Those. I mean, it's tough when you're small. I mean, there's not a lot you can do when genetics aren't on your side.
The game, like we've talked about this recruiting thing. Like if you're checking boxes, like there's foot speed is obviously athleticism, but like I think that a high school or a college coach is going to look at that. So,
and we can circle it back to we don't really get to see those intangibles. When I'm doing these rankings, I don't. Easton, obviously, we had the pleasure of it being down in the junior future games and in the dugout with, but that's just a couple days. I don't have the pleasure of seeing what type of intangible qualities does he have in the weight room, leadership wise. Those are things that we don't get to see as much. One guy that didn't come down with us to the future games, we might have missed on him. not well. Yeah, it is completely probably my fault. But came to an event early in March. Our second Rising Stars, I believe, for this class, and then we didn't see him again until the fall review after. But Sean Hipster is ranked number 5th in our class. Really like the athleticism behind the plate. I think he has a chance to also play the infield. My dog continues to howl at the moon.
He's disagreeing with your evaluation, I think is what's happening here.
He must think Sean's a little bit better than I do. He's
He's
probably
like, you
yelling
should
at
have
me
taken
because
him
he's
down
been
there. You should
I
have
know.
taken him down there.
He's not a fan right now. Hopefully he doesn't bite my leg off later. But I think Sean has a chance to stick on the infield as well. I really think the athleticism plays in the box. I think he's got a really, really athletic swing. I think it projects to hit a lot of doubles, middle of the field, gap to gap. I think the athleticism, like I said, plays on both behind the plate and in the infield. He's someone that I'm really excited about. He's coming to the All-State event and really excited to get some eyes on again after this winter months.
Yeah, that's the big thing here is like, and we've got events coming up in March, right? And February as well. For the Rising
February
Stars.
17th. Yep, we got an ID event coming up for all these high school kids, and also a unsigned senior showcase, first one we've ever done, right before the spring starts. And then we got our preseason All-State that at the moment only has about 5 spots left to register. So if you have an invite and you're able to see this before it fills up, please register as soon as you can.
But for the Rising Stars, going back, I mean, we're ranking the 2028s, and like you're saying, the more you see a player, and it's not like you're going to get ranked because you're seeing that many times. It's just that you get more familiar with the player if you see them, a couple of times and get to know a little bit of who they are, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. I think it's the ceiling that you're looking at for the player and how consistently are they playing to that ceiling. So you come to one event and you show me your ceiling, that's great. Now I got to see you do it multiple times. If you come to an event and you don't necessarily show me your top of your ceiling, coming to multiple events, showing me that you're consistently that guy, or doing it in the spring. That's another way to do it. Spring's coming up. We got events. You come to events. I'm going to be out and about all spring. I know these guys, if they're lucky enough to be varsity, I'll have eyes all over them. But then, coming to, like you said, it's not necessarily just coming to an event and you're just going to get better. You have to show improvement. You got to show, if you weren't at the top, okay, I'm going to come by next event, I'm going to be as good or better. The consistency matters as much as just coming to an event and putting up numbers.
Yeah. And on the other hand, right, the event, for one hand, it does help us evaluate the players and like you for your rankings and doing everything else. And some of it, if you're a Rising Star, it might get you on the junior future game radar. There's obviously some things that have to go on to build a team and a roster. It's not just the numbers, right? I want to make sure that
it's not just the top 5 guys,
Yeah, it's not
top 5
leaderboard,
guys
circle them.
Yeah. Okay. We can't take 5 catchers.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's something that goes on behind the scenes too. But, I mean, that's part of it is that you get it, you as the prospect player and parent get that as a tool to help you also get recruited, especially as you get into your sophomore, junior years and you want colleges to come see you, right? Send out the link, send out the videos. Hey, here's where I'm going to be. Like, here's my schedule. Like that's what this is all about. It's a tool for everybody.
Oh, 100%. If these kids aren't using their profile and the verified numbers that they get from us to reach out to schools and to take the recruiting process into their own hands instead of just letting it come to them, I think you're not maximizing your prep baseball experience, in my opinion. There's, 800 schools or something that have are registered on our website.
Yeah.
If you're not sending your profile to the schools and being proactive in your own recruiting, especially with the trusted verified stats that you get from us, you're not maximizing, like I said, your prep baseball registration fee.
We were in Minnesota. We were having a conversation with a D2 coach who, from a recruiting perspective, one of the things that he wanted to hammer home is like, there's a conception that players think that, hey, if I'm good, you'll come find me. Well, think about all the players in the Midwest. Think about everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you have to show interest in programs the same way that they're going to be. Like, you got to send that out. Like you're saying, email the coaches. You want to go to that university? Boom. I want to be there. Send it to them. Let them know where you're at, because that's the only way they're going to find you. It's not they don't want to find a needle in a haystack. They might, but odds are they'd rather have a list of people who want to be a part of it and take a look at you then.
Oh, especially if you want to go out of state too. You know, if you're, I know obviously Minnesota has a lot more D2s than Nebraska's, but if you're a Nebraska kid and you want to go out of state, or Minnesota kid and you want to come down to Nebraska at a school, unless we see you on a leaderboard or someone, you know, happens to come across you on Twitter, you know, from an uncommitted spotlight or something, be proactive. Otherwise, you're just hoping and wishing, and at that point, I don't like hoping and wishing.
Yeah. Hey, it's your career. Put it in your own hands, right? Just figure out how
You're
you
the
can do it.
CEO of your career. One annoying to one coach is going to be persistent to another. So there's no right way to go about it, but you should definitely be taking the bull by the horns of your own recruiting.
Yeah.
From the very start, from this 2028 class, they should be reaching out, being ready to send their profile to schools, especially these kids that are ranked. You're at the top of your class. Get the process started.
Now, another reason for the 2028s coming into this spring, right? If you're already, like you're saying, we got guys registered at the All-State, and we also have 2 preseason IDs. But another reason, or at least 1 preseason ID, another reason to do it is we got the super sophomore games, right? That's another whole reason to get seen.
Yeah, year 2 too, and we're gonna have a super senior team down there too, which I think will draw a immense amount of coaches. We're going to be at home field, from what everything looks like as of right now. So it should be even bigger event last year. You know, again, we get to take a whole group of Nebraska kids down, which is a little bit different than when we go to Atlanta, where we're teamed up with Iowa. So there's a lot more kids, and a lot more kids get to experience and compete against, you know, the best, at least that the Midwest has to offer in Kansas City. And I thought last year it was what they did at PBR or Prep Baseball Kansas and Creekside was knocked it out of the park, and we're expecting bigger and better things this year. I think there's going to be a bunch of coaches down there with the super senior games, and the super sophomore games going on at the same time at home field.
So yeah, lots of reasons to be at an event.
Lots of things going on. Lots of events. Lots of national events. New things coming. Trying to promote Nebraska kids in a national stage as much as we can, while also doing it at the local level. Couldn't be more excited about 2025 and what's coming.
Speaking of time and having a lot of it, both you and I don't have our football teams in the playoffs anymore, so we got a lot of time to think about the events and
well, you're used to it. It's not. I mean, you're a Viking. You're just you woke up yesterday knowing that you were going to lose.
At some point during the playoffs, it's not. Yeah, you're going to get knocked out. When you just know it's
when you cheer for a team that plays in Titletown, USA. It hurts a little bit different.
I think one of the stats I heard after the Packer game was it was the first LaFleur first round loss. Is that right? Or is it the first one since I can't even remember? But like you guys haven't had a division playoff loss in forever, right?
A wild card round, I don't think we have. Yeah. We've lost. Well, you've at least lost a couple times in the championships with Rodgers towards the end of his career to the 49ers, and then I don't remember what Love did last year. But yeah, I'm RIP to the Vikings. Dump down Darnold. Hopefully you guys re-sign him. I couldn't be more happy.
We won, 3 more games than you, but it doesn't matter at all.
Sign Darnold, back up Daniel Jones, trade McCarthy. Sounds like a Viking off season to me.
I hope that doesn't happen. you can since you're down there, you can root for the Chiefs for the rest of the.
Yeah, always got them. Mm-hmm. They're always good.
Mm-hmm. Chiefs Kingdom.
Well, I got to head back to substitute teaching. So thanks for everybody listening. Join us again for another edition of the All Beef No Filler podcast in a couple weeks. We're going to get started here soon with some Nebraska coaches coming on the podcast and joining us to preview the 2025 spring season. So don't miss out on those. Thanks for listening.